Today, tropical rainforests are being destroyed daily at a pace that exceeds 80,000 acres, which is the same as the area covered by 80,000 football fields, according to conservationist Rhett Butler. Tropical rainforests around the world are becoming extinct, and we as humans are the leading cause of their destruction. Some might turn a blind eye on the destruction of the rainforest, but awareness is slowly creeping up on those who obstinately opposed it, saying it's nothing, and if it is something, someone else is taking care of it, so it's not my problem. And on that point, the opposition is wrong, dead wrong. The first phase of forest degradation is agriculture. Farmers are trying to make a living by growing soy and palm oil, as well as other crops. Once the land is sucked of almost all its nutrients, the farmers move elsewhere, using the slash and burn technique to clear away acres of rainforest for cropland. This is when the cattle and ranching industries move in on former farmland and ruin the land for good. These three causes are not the only ones, unfortunately. The logging and paper industries also play major parts in the destruction of tropical rainforests. Although logging is banned in certain areas of forest, illegal logging occurs as frequently as allowed logging does. In short, the reasons behind rainforest destruction are mainly economic. Most people are only trying to make a living, whereas the executives and CEOs who hire the workers are trying to fill their pockets. At times there seems to be so much evil in the world that hope is nowhere to be found. But we as a civilized and educated people can revive that hope by saving and restoring the ravaged remains of the forest to the grandeur they once were by a combination of solutions. Educating the public on the issue, restoring the damaged ecosystems, encouraging the ancient civilizations that live within to change their ways, establishing parks and reserves, and gaining support from various private industries, countries, and organizations. Informing the public on the issue would help to gain support as well as publicize the issue. Many citizens of the United States do not even know a quarter of the extent of the tragedy that is affecting our tropical rainforests today. What's worse is that they don't even know who's causing it. Scott Wallace, a concerned journalist, states, "If current deforestation rates continue, these critical habitats could disappear from the planet completely within the next 100 years. Our children may never have the amazing experience of seeing these habitats that are so essential to life today." Many advocacy groups are already raising funds to restore the rainforest. Since rainforests have such a large amount of life within, burning these tropical forests releases massive amounts of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. While advocacy groups and other organizations plant trees, they are reducing global warming because living trees go through a process called photosynthesis, in which they take in carbon dioxide and they release oxygen. We can also bring back undiscovered plant and animal species by restoring the damaged ecosystems, which could help scientists find the cures to diseases that plague our nations today. Rainforests also help prevent drought because they return gargantuan amounts of fresh drinking water to rivers and such. On a global scale, more than 1 billion people, which approximately is the populations of the United States, Brazil, Nigeria, Russia, Japan, and Tanzania combined, depend on tropical rainforests for fresh drinking water. Some may wonder who those people are that drink rainforest water to survive. A good portion of that billion is made up of the indigenous peoples that live within the forests. Not only do they make up a large portion of water consumers, they also make up the workforce that is destroying the forests. The workers do not harm the forest in hate, but they do it to survive and make a living. The Amera Indians have an ancient proverb that illustrates this. "The gods are mighty, but mightier still is the jungle." A better outlet for the natives to make a living is to work on reserves and such as guides for tours through the rainforest. Travel Monster's trip to the Peruvian jungle included meeting and befriending their guide Cinca, which showed him just how promising these people are. Travel Monster relates his story of the inspiration Cinca gave him through their travels. Cinca was a boy of 14. He was part of the indigenous community that came and visited us on our first night at Tepishka. At his young age, he had already mastered guiding a boat, tracking and calling animals and birds. Nothing was too much hard work for this youngster. He had great strength. While we struggled with one of our bags, he would happily carry 3 at a time. He could free a boat from a sandbank on his own whilst it was loaded with our group of 12. The guides, the kitchen staff, and various other bits of pieces. He was courteous and made sure he secured the boat and was the first off, helping anyone who needed to get off. He came from a community where there was no running water or electricity, and food was collected from the jungle or the river. He was one of the happiest people I ever met. There was a lesson to be learned. Cinca wanted to be a guide, and in my opinion, he made himself invaluable to us as a group and our guide. I believe Cinca will learn English and become a very successful guide. I cannot see anything that will stop someone with such great determination. In order to create enough jobs for all these people, we will most definitely need to establish more national parks and reserves. This will not only create jobs, but it will give the forest a chance to regrow and heal, as well as bring back the plant and animal species that were almost exterminated. The only downfall of this is that it fails to generate sufficient economic incentives to maintain the parks and reserves, which is why we need to gain support. By gaining support, we can have access to funding as well as helping hands. Both of these pros help to make projects to save the rainforest come to life. There are always pros and cons to any issue, but it is how we handle the issue that really matters. We as guests on this planet have been careless, and whoever is in charge is surely bound to snap sooner or later if we don't clean up our act. For example, logging could take place, but it would take place selectively, therefore saving many acres. In return for logging allowance, once a tree is cut down, 2 trees should be replanted in its place. This would help revive the forest, and it would provide wood for logging. I believe that in order to be entirely successful and go 110%, we need to give it our all and practice all 5 solutions together. Educate the public on the issue. Restore damaged ecosystems. Encourage the indigenous peoples that live within to change their ways. Establish national parks and reserves, and gain support from various sources. If we don't take action, who will? We as humans don't realize just how dangerous we really are, but we also don't realize all the potential we have. Mark Collins, a writer, emphasizes, "We can save the world if we have a mind to. But time is short. The earth can provide, but the laws of nature are strict, and the penalties for breaking them catastrophic. Our world would be a much better place to live in if we cared and took care of it, but that will only prevail if we as a whole work together without disagreement. Take action and help the world around you. After all, we can only accomplish great feats if we start small. Just as Cinca hopes to fulfill his dreams of being a guide through the forest, we can aspire to be whoever we want to be, and have our world be whatever we want it to be, if we put some effort into it and take action to make a change." I give my thanks to Mr. Rhett Butler, Mr. Scott Wallace, Mr. Mark Collins, and Travel Monster for having put in so much time to produce such helpful information and to have it published so I had it at my disposal.